On the outskirts of a quiet town, surrounded by rolling hills and dense woods, stood a small military base. It wasn't flashy or glamorous, but it was home to some of the most skilled individuals in service, both human and canine. Among them was Sergeant Emily Carter, a woman whose name had become synonymous with dedication and excellence within her unit. What set her apart wasn't just her crisp uniform or years of training. It was the unbreakable bond she shared with her two German shepherds, Titan and Luna. Titan was all muscle, his sleek black and tan coat gleaming under the sun. He had an air of authority that commanded respect without saying a word. Luna, on the other hand, was smaller but no less fierce. Her piercing amber eyes missed nothing, and her agility made her perfect for tracking missions. Together, they formed an unstoppable team, capable of handling everything from search and rescue operations to apprehending suspects. But despite their impressive track record, Emily often found herself facing doubts, not because of her skills, but because of her gender. It wasn't uncommon for people to underestimate her. Some assumed she couldn't handle the physical demands of being a K9 handler. Others thought she was too soft-spoken to lead such powerful animals. Yet every time someone doubted her, Emily let her actions speak louder than words. Whether it was navigating treacherous terrains during drills or guiding Titan and Luna through complex tasks, she proved herself over and over again. Still, there were moments when the constant scrutiny weighed on her. Deep down, she wondered if she'd ever truly earned the respect she deserved. One sunny afternoon, after completing a routine training session outside the base, Emily decided to stop at a nearby gas station to refuel her truck. The weather was warm, and the roads were alive with the hum of engines. As she pulled into the station, she noticed a group of motorcyclists parked near the pumps. They wore leather jackets adorned with patches, their bikes gleaming like trophies. Their laughter echoed across the lot as they joked around, clearly enjoying themselves. At first, Emily paid them no mind. She stepped out of her truck, her posture relaxed but alert, as Titan and Luna hopped out beside her. The dogs were always by her side, ready to respond to any command. But as she began filling up her tank, she felt their gazes shift toward her. One of the bikers nudged another, pointing at her uniform. A smirk spread across his face as he turned to his friends. Well, looks like we've got ourselves a soldier," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. The comment drew chuckles from the group, but Emily ignored them, keeping her focus on the task at hand. She knew better than to rise to bait, or so she told herself. But then came the whispers. "What's a girl doing out here?" One of them muttered. Another added, "Bet she can't even lift those dogs." Their voices grew louder, more mocking. Each remark hit harder than the last, not because they were particularly clever, but because they carried the same old stereotypes Emily had spent years fighting against. Titan and Luna seemed to sense her unease, standing closer to her as if offering silent support. For now, Emily kept her cool, reminding herself that these men weren't worth her energy. Little did she know, this encounter was about to take a turn she hadn't anticipated. And neither would the bikers. The days that followed Jake's apology marked a turning point, not just for Emily, but for the entire community. The bikers' transformation from troublemakers to advocates for respect and understanding became a topic of conversation everywhere. People who had once dismissed them as reckless outcasts now saw glimpses of sincerity in their actions. They began attending local events, volunteering at shelters, and even organizing fundraisers for K9 units across the region. Their efforts weren't perfect, and some skepticism lingered, but it was clear they were trying to make amends. Emily watched these changes unfold with quiet satisfaction. She didn't expect gratitude or recognition. Her job was to serve, not to seek praise. But she couldn't deny the impact her encounter with the bikers had made. It reminded her of why she chose this path in the first place: to inspire respect, discipline, and unity. Her dogs, Titan and Luna, continued to be her steadfast partners, accompanying her through every mission and earning admiration wherever they went. One Saturday morning, Emily received an invitation to speak at a community event honoring working animals. At first, she hesitated, unsure if she wanted to share her story publicly. But after encouragement from her commanding officer and colleagues, she agreed. Standing on stage with Titan and Luna by her side, she spoke about the bond between handlers and their dogs, the years of training required to achieve such precision, and the importance of treating all professionals, human or canine, with dignity. Her words resonated deeply with the audience, many of whom approached her afterward to express their gratitude. Among those waiting to speak with her was Jake. This time, he wasn't nervous or defensive. Instead, he stood confidently, holding a framed photo in his hands. "I brought this for you," he said, handing it over. The picture showed him and his friends posing with Titan and Luna during one of their recent volunteer events. In the background, children laughed as they petted the dogs under Emily's watchful eye. "We wanted to thank you for everything." Emily studied the photo, a small smile tugging at her lips. "You've come a long way," she said simply, meeting his gaze. "Keep going." As weeks turned into months, the relationship between Emily and the bikers evolved into something unexpected: mutual respect. While they weren't close friends, they developed a quiet understanding. Occasionally, Emily would see them around town, waving politely or stopping to chat briefly. They never forgot the lessons they'd learned, or the woman and her dogs who had taught them. For Emily, life settled back into its familiar rhythm. Training sessions with Titan and Luna remained her favorite part of the day, filled with challenges that strengthened their connection. Together, they tackled new missions, faced unpredictable situations, and inspired others along the way. Every task reinforced the truth she already knew. Teamwork was the foundation of success. The story of Sergeant Emily Carter and her fearless dogs became legend in the small town and beyond. News outlets picked up the tale, highlighting how resilience and respect could bridge even the widest divides. Children began dreaming of becoming K9 handlers, inspired by Emily's courage and dedication. Local schools invited her to give talks, where Titan and Luna stole the show with their impressive skills and gentle demeanor. Through it all, Emily stayed grounded. She knew the world was full of challenges, and not every situation would end so positively. But she also knew that kindness, patience, and determination could create change, even in the unlikeliest places. With Titan and Luna by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next. And so, the legacy of Emily and her dogs lived on, not just as a story of triumph over adversity, but as a reminder of the power of respect, humility, and unwavering loyalty. In a world often divided by differences, their journey proved that understanding could bloom in the most unexpected ways. Together, they showed that no obstacle was too great when met with courage, discipline, and heart. The uneasy feeling that had been nagging at Emily for days finally made sense one evening as she drove home from the base. The sun had dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the quiet road. Her truck's headlights illuminated the familiar path to her house, but something felt off. As she turned onto her driveway, her heart skipped a beat. Parked haphazardly near her gate were several motorcycles, the same ones she'd seen at the gas station just weeks earlier. Her grip tightened on the steering wheel as adrenaline surged through her veins. Titan and Luna, sensing her sudden tension, perked up in the back seat. Their keen eyes scanned the area, their bodies shifting into alert mode. Emily forced herself to stay calm, reminding herself that panic wouldn't help. She parked the truck a short distance away from the bikers, leaving enough space to maneuver if needed. Turning off the engine, she took a deep breath and glanced at her loyal companions in the rearview mirror. "You two ready?" she whispered softly. Both dogs responded with soft growls, their focus razor-sharp. Emily nodded, steeling herself for whatever was about to happen. She stepped out of the truck, her movements deliberate and steady. The bikers noticed her immediately, stepping forward to block her path. Their faces were grim, their earlier arrogance replaced by simmering anger. It was clear they hadn't come here to apologize. They wanted revenge. Well, well, one of them sneered, cracking his knuckles. Look who decided to show up. His voice carried a menacing edge, but Emily didn't flinch. Instead, she signaled for Titan and Luna to join her. With a leap, the dogs landed on either side of her, their powerful forms radiating authority. The bikers hesitated, their bravado faltering as they remembered what these dogs were capable of. Emily crossed her arms over her chest, meeting their hostile stares head-on. "If you've got something to say it now," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the tense air. "But I'm warning you, don't make this worse than it already is." The leader of the group stepped closer, trying to mask his unease with aggression. "You think you're so tough, huh? Humiliating us in front of everyone like that. That wasn't cool." Emily raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Humiliating you? You brought this on yourselves when you disrespected my team. Maybe next time, you'll think twice before picking a fight with someone who knows how to handle themselves." Her words struck a nerve. Another biker muttered under his breath, calling her names meant to provoke her. But Emily didn't rise to the bait. Instead, she gave a subtle hand signal, and Titan let out a low, rumbling growl. The sound echoed in the stillness of the night, sending a clear message. These dogs weren't here to play games. The bikers exchanged nervous glances, their confidence wavering. They had underestimated Emily once before, and they weren't eager to repeat the mistake. Still, pride kept them rooted in place. One of them kicked at the dirt, muttering, "This isn't over." "Oh, it's over," Emily shot back, her tone icy. "Unless you want another lesson in respect." For a moment, no one moved. The standoff stretched on, heavy with tension. Then, without warning, the leader lunged forward, aiming to intimidate her. He never got close. In a flash, Luna darted in front of him, her teeth bared in a silent threat. The man froze, his bravado crumbling as he realized he was outmatched. Seeing their leader hesitate, the rest of the group began to backpedal. Emily watched them carefully, her expression unreadable. She didn't need to say another word. Her dogs had already done the talking for her. Slowly, reluctantly, the bikers retreated to their motorcycles, muttering curses under their breath as they mounted their bikes. As the roar of their engines faded into the distance, Emily exhaled deeply, allowing herself a moment of relief. Titan and Luna stayed by her side, their protective instincts unwavering. Though the confrontation was over, Emily knew this might not be the last time she faced people like them. But she also knew one thing for certain. With her dogs beside her, she could handle anything life threw her way. The bikers' laughter grew louder, filling the air with a mix of arrogance and mockery. One of them leaned casually against his motorcycle, twirling a set of keys around his finger as he spoke. "Hey, sweetheart," he called out, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "You sure those dogs are trained for anything other than fetching sticks?" His friends erupted into guffaws, clearly entertained by his attempt at humor. Emily tightened her grip on the gas nozzle, her jaw clenched ever so slightly. She didn't need to look up to know all eyes were on her. Titan and Luna sat patiently by her side, their ears perked and alert, watching every movement. The dogs could sense the tension radiating from Emily, but they remained perfectly still, waiting for her cue. They were trained not to react unless instructed, a testament to years of discipline and trust between handler and canine. Another biker stepped forward, his arms crossed over his chest. "Seriously, though," he said, smirking, "what can someone like you even do in the military? Bake cookies for the troops." This time, the group laughed even harder, slapping each other on the back, as if they'd just told the funniest joke in the world. Their condescending remarks hung heavy in the air, making it hard for Emily to ignore them completely. But she refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing her rattled. Instead, she focused on finishing what she was doing, methodically replacing the fuel cap and locking it securely. Her movements were calm and deliberate, betraying none of the irritation bubbling beneath the surface. Still, the comments kept coming, each one more cutting than the last. One of the younger bikers, emboldened by the older men's behavior, decided to take things further. He walked closer to Emily, stopping just a few feet away. "Come on, lady," he taunted, gesturing toward Titan. "Let's see what your big bad dog can really do." His voice carried a challenge, daring her to prove him wrong. When Emily didn't respond, he pressed on. "Or are you all bark and no bite?" That's when Titan let out a low growl, deep and guttural. The sound sent a shiver down the biker's spine, forcing him to take a step back. Luna joined in almost immediately, her lips curling slightly to reveal sharp teeth. Both dogs stood tall, their bodies tense and ready to act if needed. The playful atmosphere among the bikers vanished instantly, replaced by an awkward silence. For a moment, no one moved. The biker who had approached Titan stared wide-eyed at the dog, realizing too late that he might have pushed things too far. But instead of backing off, pride got the better of him. "Oh, come on," he scoffed nervously, trying to regain his bravado. "It's just a couple of mutts." His words struck a nerve, not only with Emily, but also with the rest of the group. Even his own friends shifted uncomfortably, glancing at each other uneasily. They knew how dangerous it was to provoke working dogs, especially ones trained for military service. Yet none of them stepped in to stop him. Emily finally looked up, her expression unreadable but commanding. She locked eyes with the biker, her gaze steady and unflinching. "These mutts," she said evenly, emphasizing the word, "are highly trained professionals. You don't want to test them, or me." Her voice carried authority, leaving no room for argument. For a brief second, the biker hesitated, uncertainty flickering across his face. But then, egged on by his friend's snickers, he shook off his fear and reached out again, this time aiming to grab Titan's collar. It was a reckless move, born out of misplaced confidence and sheer stubbornness. Titan didn't wait for a command. In a flash, he sprang into action, moving with precision and purpose. Luna mirrored his movement, positioning herself strategically to block anyone else from interfering. The entire scene unfolded in seconds, catching everyone, including the bikers, completely off guard. The once cocky group now found themselves staring at two formidable animals whose loyalty to their handler was absolute. And as Emily watched the chaos unfold, she couldn't help but feel a pang of vindication. These men had underestimated her, and now they were about to learn why that had been a grave mistake. The biker's hand shot out toward Titan, his fingers brushing against the dog's collar before he could fully process what happened next. In an instant, Titan pivoted with lightning speed, his powerful frame moving like a well-oiled machine. Before the biker could react, Titan had pinned him against the side of his motorcycle, using just enough force to hold him in place without causing harm. The man froze, his eyes wide with shock as he realized he was no match for the sheer strength and precision of the German Shepherd. Luna didn't miss a beat. As soon as Titan moved, she sprang into action, positioning herself between the rest of the bikers and her handler. Her stance was firm, her teeth bared in a silent warning that left no room for misinterpretation. Take one step closer, and there would be consequences. The other bikers stumbled back instinctively, their earlier bravado crumbling under the weight of the situation. None of them had expected this outcome when they started teasing Emily, least of all the man now trapped beneath Titan's watchful gaze. Emily stood tall, her expression calm but commanding. She took a slow, deliberate step forward, her voice cutting through the stunned silence like a blade. "I warned you," she said firmly, her tone leaving no room for argument. "These dogs aren't here for your entertainment. They're trained professionals, and they don't tolerate disrespect." The biker pinned by Titan tried to speak, but his words came out in a stutter. I didn't mean anything by it," he stammered, his face flushed with embarrassment and fear. His friends exchanged uneasy glances, unsure whether to intervene or stay put. One of them muttered something under his breath about calling it quits, but another quickly shushed him, clearly unwilling to escalate things further. Despite the tension crackling in the air, Emily remained composed. She gave a sharp whistle, signaling Titan to release the biker. Instantly, the dog obeyed, stepping back with perfect discipline and resuming his position beside Luna. The biker staggered upright, brushing himself off awkwardly while avoiding eye contact with both Emily and her dogs. For the first time, he seemed to grasp the gravity of his actions and the respect these animals deserved. "You got lucky," Emily added, her voice steady but laced with authority. "Next time, think twice before mocking someone or their team." She didn't raise her voice or gloat. Instead, she let the moment speak for itself. The bikers, still reeling from the display of control and power, mumbled half-hearted apologies as they backed away. Some fiddled nervously with their helmets, while others avoided looking directly at Emily altogether. As the group mounted their motorcycles and revved their engines, it was clear they were eager to leave the scene behind. But the encounter wasn't over, not entirely. As they sped off down the road, casting uneasy glances over their shoulders, one thing became abundantly clear: they wouldn't forget this lesson anytime soon. Emily watched them disappear into the distance, her heart still pounding slightly from the adrenaline rush. Though she'd handled the situation with professionalism, the reality of what had just transpired began to sink in. These men hadn't simply underestimated her. They'd disrespected her role, her dedication, and the bond she shared with Titan and Luna. And while the dogs had done exactly what they were trained to do, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this incident might not end here. For now, though, she focused on regaining her composure. She signaled for Titan and Luna to return to the truck, where they hopped inside obediently, their tails wagging softly in acknowledgement of a job well done. As Emily climbed behind the wheel, she allowed herself a small smile. Today, she and her dogs had proven themselves once again. But deep down, she knew that challenges like this weren't uncommon. Being underestimated came with the territory, and she'd long since learned to turn those moments into opportunities to educate, and sometimes to teach a harsh but necessary lesson. With a deep breath, Emily started the engine and pulled away from the gas station. The sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, casting golden light across the road ahead. She glanced at Titan and Luna in the rearview mirror, their loyalty unwavering as always. No matter what lay ahead, she knew she could count on them, and together, they were unstoppable. Word of the incident at the gas station spread faster than Emily could have imagined. Witnesses who had been filling up their cars or chatting near the pumps couldn't stop talking about what they'd seen. Some recorded snippets on their phones, capturing the moment Titan and Luna sprang into action with precision and authority. Within hours, social media platforms were buzzing with posts about the woman and her military dogs who had shut down a group of rowdy bikers. The story quickly gained traction, sparking debates, admiration, and even criticism from people who hadn't been there to witness it firsthand. At first, Emily was unaware of the growing attention. She returned to her duties at the base, focusing on training exercises and routine patrols with Titan and Luna. To her, the encounter at the gas station was just another day in the life, a reminder of why respect for working animals was so important. But as she walked through the base the next morning, she noticed something unusual. Her fellow soldiers greeted her with knowing smiles, some giving her playful nods or thumbs-ups. Confused, she stopped one of them and asked what was going on. "You're all over the internet," the soldier replied with a grin, holding up his phone to show her a viral post titled, "Bikers Messed with the Wrong K9 Handler." The article included quotes from witnesses describing how Emily's dogs had handled the situation flawlessly, emphasizing her calm demeanor and leadership under pressure. Comments poured in from strangers across the country, praising her professionalism and marveling at the discipline of Titan and Luna. Many expressed outrage at the bikers' behavior, calling them reckless and disrespectful. Others shared stories of their own encounters with working dogs, highlighting the importance of understanding their roles and boundaries. While the overwhelming support was heartwarming, not everyone agreed with the narrative. A small but vocal group accused Emily of overreacting, claiming the bikers were only joking around and didn't deserve such a harsh response. These comments frustrated her, though she tried not to let them get to her. She knew better than anyone that working dogs weren't pets. They were highly trained professionals whose safety depended on clear boundaries. Ignoring those boundaries wasn't just rude, it was dangerous. Back in town, opinions were divided as well. Locals debated the incident over coffee and dinner tables, with some siding firmly with Emily and others sympathizing with the humiliated bikers. One shop owner, a regular at the same gas station, summed it up best when he said, "Maybe those bikers needed a wake-up call. You don't mess with someone's work partner, especially when that partner is a military dog." Despite the mixed reactions, Emily tried to stay focused on her mission. She wasn't in this line of work for recognition or applause. Still, there was no denying that the incident had left an impact, not just on her, but on the community around her. People began approaching her during off-base errands, offering words of encouragement, or simply thanking her for her service. Children stared in awe at Titan and Luna whenever they accompanied her, asking if the dogs really knew how to take down bad guys. Emily always smiled and nodded, using the opportunity to educate them about the incredible capabilities of K9 units and the hard work it took to train them. But amid the praise and curiosity, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the bikers might not be done with her. Their pride had taken a hit, and men like that rarely walked away quietly after being humiliated in public. She kept a close eye on her surroundings, ensuring that Titan and Luna were always ready for anything. If the bikers decided to retaliate, she wanted to be prepared. For now, however, life continued as usual. Emily threw herself into her work, finding comfort in the rhythm of daily training sessions and patrols. Titan and Luna seemed to sense her need for normalcy, sticking close by her side as they always did. Together, they moved through each task with seamless coordination, their bond stronger than ever. As days turned into weeks, Emily allowed herself to hope that the incident would fade into memory, a cautionary tale for anyone who underestimated the power of teamwork and discipline. Yet deep down, she knew better. The world was full of challenges, and she learned long ago that respect wasn't given, it was earned. And if earning it meant standing her ground against skeptics and troublemakers alike, then so be it. With Titan and Luna by her side, Emily felt ready to face whatever came next. The bikers' attempt at revenge ended as quickly as it began, their bravado crumbling under the combined force of Emily's calm authority and her dog's unwavering discipline. As their motorcycles roared down the road, disappearing into the night, Emily stood motionless for a moment, letting the adrenaline coursing through her veins settle. Titan and Luna remained alert beside her, their bodies tense and ready to act should the threat return. But the immediate danger had passed. Emily knelt down, placing a hand on each dog's head. "Good job," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude and pride. Both Titan and Luna responded with soft whines, leaning into her touch. They knew they'd done well, protecting their handler and proving once again why they were such an extraordinary team. Emily smiled faintly, feeling a deep sense of connection with her loyal companions. Moments like this reminded her why she loved her job, and why she'd worked so hard to earn the trust and respect of these incredible animals. As she walked back to her truck, Emily couldn't help but reflect on what had just happened. The bikers weren't the first people to underestimate her, and they certainly wouldn't be the last. But tonight, something felt different. This wasn't just about teaching a group of reckless men a lesson. It was about standing up for herself, her dogs, and the values she believed in. Respect wasn't something that could be demanded. It had to be earned, and sometimes it had to be defended. The next morning, news of the confrontation spread even faster than before. Neighbors who had heard the commotion overnight pieced together what had happened, and word traveled like wildfire through the community. Some praised Emily for handling the situation with poise and professionalism, while others expressed concern for her safety. A few locals stopped by her house to check on her, bringing coffee or baked goods as small gestures of support. One elderly woman even offered to keep watch over her property, insisting that no one should have to deal with troublemakers like that alone. At the base, Emily's colleagues greeted her with knowing nods and pats on the back. Her commanding officer pulled her aside during a briefing, his expression serious but approving. "I heard about last night," he said. "You handled yourself well. Sergeant, those dogs of yours are something else." Emily nodded humbly, crediting Titan and Luna for their flawless performance. She didn't feel the need to embellish the story. Her actions spoke for themselves. But not everyone was pleased with how things had unfolded. Across town, the bikers licked their wounds, their egos bruised and their pride shattered. The leader of the group, whose name was Jake, paced angrily outside their clubhouse, replaying the events in his mind. He hated the idea of being bested by a woman. And worse, by her dogs. His friends tried to console him, some suggesting they let it go, but Jake refused to back down. "She made fools out of us," he growled, slamming his fist against a table. "We can't just walk away from this." His anger blinded him to reason. Instead of learning from the experience, he became fixated on finding a way to regain control. Late that night, he and a few others hatched a plan. A foolish one. Driven by spite rather than logic, they decided to follow Emily discreetly, hoping to catch her off guard when she least expected it. What they didn't realize was that Emily had already anticipated their next move. Thanks to her training, Emily had developed a keen sense of awareness, always staying one step ahead of potential threats. She noticed the same motorcycles trailing her whenever she left the base, their riders attempting to blend into traffic, but failing miserably. Rather than confront them directly, she devised a strategy to turn the tables once again. With Titan and Luna by her side, she set a trap, luring the bikers into a secluded area where backup from her unit would be waiting nearby. When the moment came, Emily gave her dogs a single command, and they sprang into action with precision. Within minutes, the bikers found themselves surrounded, not only by Titan and Luna, but also by military personnel responding to Emily's call for assistance. This time, there was no room for excuses or defiance. The authorities intervened, issuing stern warnings and making it clear that any further retaliation would result in legal consequences. Jake and his gang left the scene humbled, their plans foiled completely. For Emily, the victory wasn't about gloating. It was about sending a message. Respect wasn't optional. It was non-negotiable. And with Titan and Luna by her side, she was more than capable of defending that principle. As she returned to her duties the following day, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. No matter what challenges lay ahead, she knew she could face. The aftermath of the second confrontation left the bikers with no choice but to retreat. Their plans crumbled and their pride shattered. This time, however, they weren't just humiliated. They were cornered. With Emily's quick thinking and her unit's timely intervention, the situation escalated into something far beyond what Jake and his gang had anticipated. Surrounded by military personnel, their motorcycles abandoned in haste, the bikers looked less like tough rebels and more like frightened men who had bitten off far more than they could chew. Jake stood frozen, his usual swagger replaced by wide-eyed panic as he realized there was no escape. One of the soldiers stepped forward, his voice firm but controlled. "You've caused enough trouble," he said, addressing the group. "We're giving you a chance to walk away, but if we see you anywhere near Sergeant Carter or this base again, there will be consequences." The warning hung heavy in the air, leaving no room for misinterpretation. Jake clenched his fists, his jaw tight with frustration, but even he knew when to back down. For all their bluster and bravado, these men hadn't bargained for the full weight of military authority bearing down on them. Slowly, reluctantly, they nodded in agreement, their heads bowed in defeat. Emily watched silently from a distance, her arms crossed over her chest. She didn't say a word as the bikers were escorted out of the area, their motorcycles towed away by local authorities called to handle the scene. Her expression remained calm, almost indifferent, but inside, she felt a mix of emotions, relief that it was finally over, satisfaction at having defended herself and her team, and a lingering sadness that such hostility existed in the first place. The next morning, the community buzzed with news of the latest incident. Witnesses described how Emily's strategic planning and leadership had turned the tables yet again, showcasing not only her skill, but also her ability to remain composed under pressure. Social media posts praised her resilience, with many calling her an inspiration. Comments flooded in from strangers across the country, applauding her for standing her ground and highlighting the importance of respecting working animals like Titan and Luna. But amidst the praise, something unexpected happened. The leader of the biker gang, Jake, showed up at the military base, not with hostility, but with humility. He walked cautiously through the gates, clutching the bouquet of flowers and a handwritten letter. His leather jacket was gone, replaced by a plain t-shirt that made him look less intimidating and more human. When he approached the front desk, he asked politely to speak with Sergeant Carter. Emily was surprised when she received the message. At first, she hesitated, unsure whether meeting him was wise. But curiosity got the better of her, and she agreed, bringing Titan and Luna along as always. The sight of the two dogs immediately put Jake on edge, but he forced himself to stay calm. Standing before Emily, he held out the flowers and the letter, his face red with embarrassment. I came to apologize," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "What we did was wrong, both times. We didn't understand what you do or how important your dogs are. And I'm sorry for disrespecting you." He paused, glancing nervously at Titan and Luna before continuing. "I hope this makes things right." Emily studied him carefully, searching for any sign of insincerity. After a long moment, she accepted the flowers and opened the letter. It was a heartfelt note, written in clumsy handwriting, expressing regret for their actions and admiration for her dedication to her work. While she appreciated the gesture, she wasn't about to let him off easily. "Apologies are a start," she said evenly, her tone measured. "But respect isn't something you can earn overnight. Actions matter more than words." Jake nodded vigorously, promising to spread awareness among his friends about the importance of treating working dogs and their handlers with dignity. As he left the base, Emily couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. Maybe some lessons, no matter how harsh, could lead to growth. Over the following weeks, the bikers kept their promise. They visited local schools and community centers, sharing stories about the dangers of underestimating others and the value of mutual respect. Their efforts earned them cautious approval from residents, many of whom admitted they never thought they'd see the day when those same rowdy bikers became advocates for change. For Emily, life returned to its usual rhythm. She continued her work with renewed purpose, knowing that every challenge brought opportunities to educate and inspire. Titan and Luna stayed by her side, their loyalty unwavering, their bond stronger than ever. Together, they'd proved that courage, discipline, and teamwork could overcome even the toughest obstacles. And